Little Bows, I'm Helen, welcome to my channel. I was seeing when watching my favourite sewing YouTubers this hashtag for so many questions. It was originally posted by two lovely ladies over at Camden Stitches and, I have to check this one, apologies, the Specky Seamstress. So they basically uploaded a video with 40 questions on it, and they were asking all us YouTubers who love to sew to choose 10 and then upload them, and it's just a really great way for everyone to get to know a little bit more about each other. So I thought I'd join in because I've been really interested to see what other people have to say. So I've written down my questions, so that will be why I glance away occasionally, so apologies in advance if that's what I'm doing. And I will spend the next few minutes just answering these 10 questions about me and my sewing. Okay, so question number 1, how and when did you start sewing? So I think I would say I'm late to the sewing party, and that I didn't actually start sewing until a few years ago, probably 2013, 2014, when I had my little girl. So she was born in 2011, so she was still quite little then. And because I'd had 3 boys before her, I was really looking forward to doing girly things, girly clothes, girly hair. And I'd seen at the time lots of people making ribbon hair accessories, and they were making these lovely little hair bows that I was buying, and then I suddenly realised that actually it would probably be worth my while, because I was getting so many, to try and make them myself. So it started with a glue gun and some ribbon, but then I saw these really lovely little fabric bows, and they involved a tiny bit of sewing. So when I first made them, I was hand sewing, but I was literally sitting there in an evening with these little bows for my daughter's hair, stitching, and it took so long. I just thought, why am I doing this? So then I came across a $99 sewing machine when I lived out in the States in our Walmart, and I thought, right, I'm going to buy a sewing machine, and it speeded everything up. What really cemented my love of sewing, I think, was back in 2016 when we'd moved back to the UK from living in America. I went to the Knitting and Stitching show in London, which was fabulous. It was 2 days of me away from family and children, which was lovely in itself. Apologies, kids and hubby, I love you. But it was so good. It had fabric stalls and pattern stalls and demos. I met the fabulous Matthew, I want to say Chapel, I'm not totally sure that's right. I will go back and check, hold on. So I was right, and I apologise, Matt, because I did meet you and now I feel terrible. It was Matt Chapel who won the Great British Sewing Bee the last time it was on, before the most recent one. And he demonstrated just, I think, something like a placket, or just, for me, it was amazing. It was all things I'd never known. I just basically sort of knew straight line stitching. So 2 days in London at this knitting and stitching show was really, I think, what cemented my love for sewing. And since then, hopefully, I've progressed and improved, and now I just absolutely love to sew. So I would say, to answer the question about how and when I started sewing, that it was probably 5 or 6 years ago that I started, but the last sort of 3 or 4 years that I've really been interested in sewing. So question 2, where do you sew? Okay, so if you haven't already seen my previous videos, please do go back and look at the video that shows my sewing room. This is my sewing room. So like quite a lot of people, up until recently, it was the dining room table, and then I would have to put my stuff away when the children came in from school and wanted to do their homework, or anyone wanted to eat. And I found that I wasn't sewing as much when I had that situation as I am now, because I used to have to get everything out and then think how long I had before I had to put it all away again. And sometimes I just couldn't be bothered. But now that I have my own sewing room, it's fantastic. I can leave it all set up and close the door and just come back in when I need to start sewing. So do check out my little tour in the previous video of my sewing room, and you'll see where I get to sew. Third question, who supports your sewing at home? So as I said, I'm very lucky to have been married now for 13 years, been with my husband for 20 years. We have 4 wonderful children. Age ranges are, my youngest, my little girl, is going to be 8 in a few months. Then I have my 3 boys who are 12, 13, and the one I call my baby boy, bless him, will be 10 in the summer. So I have to say that they are my support. They're fantastic. I mean, my husband is so understanding, does give me a lot of stuff that he wants me to do all the time that I would not choose to do. Because I find them really boring, but I do try. And my children tell everyone at their school or their friends or their teachers that mum is a super sewer and can make anything. So I have to say I'm very lucky to have a very supportive family, and that they're the ones that support me. And I have some really good sewing friends down here, and we tend to talk a lot of shop, so I find them very supportive. Amanda and Sarah especially. You're my 2 sewing buds. So question number 4, how big is your stash? Okay, so I did do in my quick, excuse me, in my tour video, I did do a quick glance at my stash. But what I'm going to try and do, if my technological abilities allow, I'm not the best, is I will try and record another video quickly where I'll show you my stash and then I'll pop it in here. So hopefully that's going to come in now, and then I'll speak to you again after. Okay, so this is my IKEA 9 cubby storage that I've had for quite a long time now, actually. I got it a few years ago for free off a lady who was getting rid, and it has my wire baskets, which you would have seen if you saw my previous video where I toured my sewing room. This is the majority of my stash, and all the drawers in this unit have fabric, mostly fat quarters, and over here these drawers, as you can see, also have fabric. They're mostly scraps, but usable scraps I would call them. Okay, so in my stash bins, the top 3 are all what I would probably say are bag making fabrics. So these are mostly my wovens, and they're my favorite prints. I have mentioned this before in my previous video, but this basket here is all by a lovely lady called Tula Pink, because I just absolutely love her fabrics. Then these are also mostly woven for handbags. That's what I used to make, but I started to branch out, and you can see slightly different fabrics, mostly wovens down here. So if I start with this, okay, so these are all jerseys, so they've all got clothes in mind. So I've got jersey, 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 jersey with skulls on it. So they're all for tops that I want to make mostly, or dresses or cocos or anything I'm going to use knits for. I got similarly here, these are like pajama type, flannel type, and then this obviously is, for me, lovely star fabric. It's a sweatshirty type, so it's got a lovely sort of fluffy fleecy back, and then these lovely stars on the front. And then at the bottom, these are actually really old. I've had these years from Joann's in America. These I made pajamas for my children when I was starting out. So I've got all of these. And then I have girly prints, which I bought mostly again in America. These were for my daughter. So they've been back here for quite a few years and I haven't touched them. And then I have a lot of dotty fabric. I love dots. And then I have my patterned and plains for my bag. So I personally, I could be wrong, I don't think my stash is too big, but that is it. That is the majority of my stash in my 9 cubby there. So question number 5, woven or knit. Okay, so you've just seen my stash, and what I tend to have is more woven than knit, but that is really because of my initial start in the sewing when I moved back to UK, which was all bag making. And because I still love to make bags, and more recently I'm trying purses as well, I tend to use an awful lot of the woven because they have some fantastic prints. They're very sturdy and solid, and they're just really good for the bag making. So I have a lot of woven. However, recently with getting into clothes making, I find I absolutely love jersey. So I'm really loving the knit. So I would have to say, because I do both bag making and clothes making, that it's 50-50. I love knit, I love woven. Just depends what the project is. Okay, so next question is, what's the one piece of advice you would give yourself if you could go back to when you first started sewing? Right, there's lots of advice. Lots. But the one advice that I've realised I would have given myself recently when I started making clothes is look at what you're actually likely to wear. So I am a stay-at-home mum. I've been so for over a decade now. So my uniform is a top and jeans, and pretty much that is what I live in. So when I started sewing, I think my fundamental error when I started sewing clothes was that I bought patterns I loved. Prime example, this Butterick pattern, which I absolutely love. It's a fantastic pattern, don't get me wrong. I just bought it because it was beautiful. So I think that's what I would try and tell myself if I was to go back in time, is that yes, it's a beautiful dress. However, look in your wardrobe. Is it the kind of clothes you wear? No, it's not. Don't waste your money. That's it. Okay, question 7. Where is your favourite place to buy fabric? So I would say that the majority of my fabric buying is online. From so many different places that I couldn't mention them all, but I have written down a few that I buy from quite frequently. I have mentioned her before, but she's a lovely lady online, and the majority of my fabrics that I've bought from her, and I think I've got one right here, like this gorgeous fabric was from So Affordable Fabrics, and it was £3 a metre. So I buy a lot of fabrics from the lovely Shirley over at So Affordable. I also buy online from My Fabrics, like So Amazing, and Queen Bobbin, to name but a few. However, locally, I live in the lovely Plymouth in Devon. We're very lucky in that we have a lady called Lizzie here who runs her own little shop and sewing studio workshop. And that is called Make at 140. And it's in a place down here called Royal Williams Yard. And quite often on a Tuesday when I'm doing my sewing, I'll have a little nose in the shop and I'll think, oh, that's fabulous. So Lizzie at Make at 140, if you happen to be local to Plymouth, do check her out. Her fabrics are amazing. Okay, 8, favourite pattern company. So since I've been sewing clothes, I've got to say my favourite pattern company would be Tilly and the Buttons. So her patterns just suit me down to the ground. And I just think her clothes are so well made and so wearable. So Tilly and the Buttons, definitely my go-to patterns. Number 9 is a question about me, heels or flats. So as I said earlier, I'm a jeans and t-shirt kind of gal. I live in flats. Okay, so I don't very often bring out those heels, but give me a nice pair of sturdy Timberland walking boots and I'm good to go. Finally, what's my current box set? So I have on the go at the moment now is my Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I just find it light comedy. I love musicals and they burst into these hilarious songs if you've never checked them out. Very over the top productions and they look like a musical, but the words, if you ever watch it, please do, are just brilliant and it just makes me smile. So I'm watching Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. That is my 10 So Many Questions. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy this video too. And next time I will try and get that bag video up for you. So I'll see you in the next video.